Well, hello friends out in YouTube land. I have been waiting to do my review of the GoPro Hero 4. A lot of people just really jumped out there and started doing reviews. I wanted to give myself a good 6-8 weeks of messing around with this thing before I said anything about it. So I wanted to give you a review you could trust. And listen, there is a lot to this camera, so there's still a lot that I don't know. If you want to go out and look for comprehensive specs and things, you can go to their site, you can download the PDF. What I'm going to tell you is my impressions of using this thing since it came out. I got it the first day that it came out. This is the GoPro Hero 4. It looks very familiar to those of you who have done the Hero cameras in the past. So I'm going to cut to the chase. This is the black edition, and that's what I'm going to be talking about because I buy the best one when I buy these things. The video that you're watching right now is being shot with a Hero 3 Plus. So that was the latest iteration before this one came out. Let me tell you what things they've improved. Of course, naturally, you've got, it's sharper. You get a sharper video, and I have confirmed this. It looks a good bit sharper when you're using the native video. This is it's better and more in focus than the Hero 3 Plus, which could be a little soft sometimes. Better color, and listen, the Hero 3 Plus was a pretty good step forward in color from the old Hero 3, which I still use the Hero 3 too. I have 3 Hero 3s, 1 Hero 3 Plus, and this Hero 4. Faster frame rates, you know, you've heard the, I guess the hype so far, and yeah, there's a lot of cool things you can do with 1080p at 120 frames per second and 4K at 30 frames per second. There are good and bad things to both of these. Really, I think more good than bad, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a minute. Like what naturally good can you do with 1080p at 120 or some of the other frame rates like 90 frames per second? There are some super wide at 80 frames per second and such. Well, it allows you to do lots of really cool slow-mo things that you were doing with the older Hero 3s in 720p. Well, it's always nicer to have more pixels, isn't it? And yes, the video looks really good. When you're shooting with 1080p 120, they are packing a lot of data into 120 frames per second. So your frames, each frame, if you stop, it does not look as good at the higher frame rates as it does at the lower frame rates. So 1080p 60 ends up looking better than 1080p 120, but still when you're going to slow motion, you can sacrifice a little bit of that data bit rate to get the really cool slow-mo effects. And I will say it's quite stunning. They've done a great job. It has given us some good possibilities. Now I have some notes down here on my screen because I don't want to leave anything out, so forgive me if I look down sometimes. Fast frame rates, lots of different options. The super view, if you don't mind having that very, very fish-eyed type look, I can see that being something that would really put you, if you're an action person, in the action. If you're doing these selfies back at yourself holding your GoPro out on a pole while you're skiing or you're surfing or skydiving, whatever you're going to do, I would think that that's probably a pretty good feature, and you'll be able to slow these things down and get some really remarkable video. I've been using it for nature stuff, shooting birds and stuff in flight and stopping wings and slowing things down like that. So for me, a non-action guy, there's still applications you can use that for. Downsides, good sides. Well, the downside is it takes a pretty powerful computer to do some of the editing you're going to be doing if you're going to use these very high frame rates. So it's a really cool bell and whistle to have all this excellent frame rates and different sizes, but you're going to have a stout computer with a lot of RAM. This is just the reality. If you're going to be able to scrub through these videos, it's going to be tough on your computer. If you've not got a lot of computing power, you might need to even upgrade. You will be able to edit the video still with the free GoPro Studio software, but you know that is not an ideal editing environment either. Still, I think most people who are going to use these higher frame rates and these bigger formats are going to want to have a professional editing package like Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, Sony Vegas. You know, there are various different formats, Avid and all, or various different softwares that you probably, to get the most satisfaction out of some of this software, you're going to have to step up to. I don't think you'll have to, but I think you ultimately might want to. But still, you can use the presets and stuff that comes with the free software from GoPro, and you can still get some great, satisfying video. It's just you realize you're going to have to convert some of these videos to various different formats, to the Cineform codec if you're using the GoPro, which you don't have to do if you use some of these other software packages. One of my good friends in England does a lot of editing with this in iMovie, and he has had some good success, but he's really enjoying it more now that he's upgraded to Final Cut Pro on his MacBook Pro. It takes a very fast card, memory card, to record this video. I've done a review of the Lexar that's recommended on GoPro's website. You can go see that review if you want to on my channel. Be sure that when you step up to the Hero 4 that you're using the very fast recommended cards to record to, or you're going to have some problems. So be sure you're using the right kind of card. The other thing that has been much publicized is this kind of battery over the other kind of battery. You see this little nub here on the end? Yes, this changed everything. It sort of obsoletes your old Hero 3 Plus and Hero 3 batteries. They went to this format. I don't exactly understand why they did that. So now you have the little door on the bottom, and you open your batteries up this way. All the old batteries that went in the other way don't fit. And so what are the downsides of this? Well, this thing's a little flimsy to me. I'm afraid, I'm having to be real careful with it. I'm afraid that might break at some point. I also don't particularly like having to grab this little tab. It's hard for me to get my fingers around it. You get the little plastic thing and you have to grab it and pull it. Sometimes it's more hard to get out than you think it would be. Well, it's a bad thing if you've invested in a whole lot of other batteries and extended backpacks like I have, but at the same time, you're moving forward. It is aggravating if you're going to use a frame like this, which is still something that I use, because you put your GoPro in there, and to switch out the battery, you have to take it out of the frame before you can switch out the battery. But still, not a major problem, still not a deal breaker. It's just one of those things that becomes a little more inconvenient. I've been using these Wasabi batteries, and so that's what's in there right now, what I held up just a minute ago. I'll do a separate video that tells you about what I think of these. They're quite good replacement batteries. You see here, I've got a charger. You can buy these so you don't have to charge them in the camera, because that's really the only option you have when you're charging batteries now with the GoPro. They may have some sort of something there that they've put out where you can charge the batteries without the camera. But these are really cool. So I do recommend these Wasabi batteries for GoPro Hero 4 for a third party. They're quite nice and as good or equal to the GoPros. What do I think is the #1 feature? I love the protein for photo. Now you got this protein mode that you can go into that gives you wide dynamic range. It gives you deeper, richer colors, and it allows for photos. Now, it's always done this for video, but now for photos it allows exposure times. So in other words, in the old Hero 3, Hero 3 Plus, you could not set exposures, like say you want to set your exposure for 10 seconds or for 15 seconds, up to 30 seconds you can now do with the GoPro Hero 4, which allows you to do these starry night time lapses, which I've been having a lot of fun doing. I love to go out at night and set it for a time lapse, and like shooting a picture every 2 minutes or something, you see the whole sky rotate, the stars and all. For me, that's very cool. Improved nighttime shooting. It does look better. The video, if you go into night mode, looks better. The navigation is pretty cool, and I made a video about the navigation on this. At first, I did not like it, didn't know what I was going to think about it. It kind of freaked me because it was totally different in many ways to what I was experiencing on the Hero 3, Hero 3 Plus. In the end, I've gotten very used to it, and now, honestly, I've gotten so used to it that it's hard for me to segue back or to go back to the way the navigation is for the menus and stuff on the Hero 3 Plus and Hero 3. But much quicker, more logical layout for the menus. The battery life, I should have said something about that. The battery life is, would I say great? No. Would I say bad? No, not bad either. Typically, let's say you're shooting 1080p 60, I'll give you an example. You can get about 1 hour and 15 minutes out of the original GoPro batteries. Most of the third-party batteries, 1 hour and 10, 12 minutes, depending on what you're doing, how many times you've charged and all. So, you know, it's decent time. It's probably not quite as long as you got with the old batteries on the Hero 3, Hero 3 Plus, but you are writing more data and typically using different sorts of frame rates. Okay, what's one weakness of this thing? And this is a minor thing, but you just barely can tap this button now and it will turn on. So I'm one of the kind of guys that likes to put the GoPro in my pocket and walk around with it and pull it out whenever I want to shoot some video. So I want to have it like on the fly, and a lot of times I'll find that I've bumped it or something here, and I'll reach into my pocket and pull out the GoPro, and it's been recording with this thing on for 30-40 minutes, and I've run my battery down. So I would say it's a little bit touchy. You can really turn these things on much more easy than you could the Hero 3 and Hero 3 Plus. You know, I will also say that for a Plus, it does work a little better with the app. I have a Samsung Galaxy S5. Download the GoPro app on it. Seems to be a little snappier, seems to have a little bit more range. So I like that about it. I like the fact that you can, if you want to use your phone to control it or your other device, it seems to work pretty well. Good job, GoPro, with that. I will not say it's hugely better than the Hero 3, Hero 3 Plus, but it is somewhat better and a little more responsive. Okay, let's talk a little bit about photos. I don't usually use this thing for photos, but people always ask me, you know, how do the photos look? Better than the Hero 3, and better than the Hero 3 Plus. Still not what I would consider great. I still, folks, if you're going to be shooting message boards or you know whiteboards at work, or if you're going to just want to get a quick snapshot of something, it's probably better than what you're going to definitely get with your phone, but not nearly as good as what you're going to get with a really good DSLR. So it's not taking the place of a really good, say, Canon or Nikon camera. Still, if you want to shoot stills, I think you're going to get better results if you take a regular camera out, not this. For those of you, let's wrap up by saying this. If you're new, if the GoPro Hero 4 is the first time you stepped into the land of GoPro, then yeah, you're going to love it. It's going to take a while to get used to. You know, the thing I think that surprises people is when they get one, they've seen all this awesome GoPro video, but they don't realize how they're going to have to change the way they shoot. I've said it before, the GoPros make you the zoom. You have no zoom function with these. What they are is they're super mobile. You're paying for a great little camera that shoots lots of frame rates, lots of frame sizes, gives you lots of options of ways to shoot, but you don't just stand there and shoot with these. You move around with the GoPro. You put it on sticks, you mount it on your guitar, you mount it on your bike, you mount it on your helmet, you put it on the windshield of your car if you want to. You can do all kinds of things because it's so small and mobile. It is the camera that puts you more into the action and engages you more in the creation of the video. You are the zoom. You have to move forward to make the video happen. So it's very immediate. It's a new little world. If you stood and you've used a camera where you rock a zoom control, I mean, those are cool and they have their place, and I still use them, and the GoPro does not take the place of that kind of cam. So if you're going to go on vacations and you want to be able to shoot, you zoom in, I say you take a GoPro with you, and you also take a small camera that does have zoom functions. And so I typically favor Canons for that. But folks, the GoPro Hero 4 is very much worth owning. $500. I don't know anything that gives you 4K at 30 frames per second, even though it's only wide field of view and narrow field of view. Maybe they'll give us some more field of views later, but it's pretty remarkable. That's the other thing I will say is GoPro has been pretty great to give you firmware updates that do give you more options, typically more frame rates, more field of views as they develop the ability to do that. And so you do get a camera that changes and evolves. And so it's a good quality camera. Some people have asked me about the fact that it gets hot. Yes, it gets hot. It gets hot because the battery gets hot. And it is in a very small little compact area. Don't worry about that. I have run this thing very hot about 30 or 40 times, and so far nothing has failed. It seems to be designed to take whatever heat is generated inside this tiny little area where the battery resides. When you look at it, it's about 2/3 battery, and it's a lens, and it's I'm sure a sensor in there, and that's really all there is to it. So yeah, it's going to generate some heat, but don't fear that. Can I think of anything really bad about it? No. It is a pretty decent step forward. Now the question will rise is, I can get the Hero 3 Plus $100, $150 cheaper because it's gone on sale for 2014. Which should I buy for a Christmas present? That's up to you. If you want to build for the future, if you want to work with the very highest end, then you'll go with the 4. If you want us to make some smashing great videos that's still 4K at 15 frames per second, still 1080p at 60, and all kinds of other really good frame rates, and still some decent looking video, then you could go with your Hero 3 Plus. I do recommend black editions if you're really serious about shooting professional and super interesting creative videos. That's my 2 cents worth, folks. I may have left a lot of things out. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask. There's a lot of ground I've not covered here, but because I just use it for a blogging and live recording device, I don't use it for a lot of the other things that people use GoPros for. For just the typical day-to-day user who wants to do really good vlogs and capture their experiences in life, not do a whole lot of fancy extreme sports stuff, then my advice may be helpful to you. Hope it has been. Leave me any comments, send me any questions, and I'll be glad to try to answer those to the best of my ability. Peace to everyone who watches. Thanks to the subscribers out there. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, and I'll keep loading your wagon with more facts about the GoPro Hero 4 and other GoPro cameras.